Picture this. It's the morning of September 23, 2009. The skies over Stockholm, Sweden are quiet. But they're about to become the stage for one of the most insane movie-like heists in modern history. Seriously, this wasn't just a robbery. It was a full-on military-style operation that would leave an entire nation speechless and, believe it or not, change how it uses money forever.
So, try to imagine you're a night shift worker named Yenny at this huge G4S cash depot. You're just counting bills, you've got your headphones on, when you feel this deep thump, thump, thump sound. It gets louder and louder until you finally look up and you realize something impossible is happening. There is a helicopter landing on the roof of your building.
And look at this timeline. It is just staggering. The entire operation was a masterclass in getting in and getting out. We're talking 30 minutes. That's it. In half an hour, they landed on the roof, blasted their way into a secure building, stole millions, and just vanished. By the time the SWAT team finally got inside, the thieves were long gone. All they left behind was chaos and a ton of questions.
So you have to be wondering, how on earth did they pull this off? How does a crew just execute a heist that feels like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie, while the police seem totally helpless? Well, it turns out their plan wasn't just about what happened inside the depot. It was all about neutralizing every single possible response outside of it.
Inside the building, it was just pure terror. Explosions were rocking the walls. Yenny and her colleagues were scrambling for their lives. Their boss is screaming, "Secure the money!" right before they're all forced to retreat into this tiny, hermetically sealed airlock. We're talking 14 people, including a pregnant woman, crammed into a space built for one. No cell reception, nowhere to go, just hoping the next blast wouldn't be their last.
Meanwhile, outside, the first cops on the scene were completely, and I mean completely, outmaneuvered. Every single road leading to the depot had been blocked with spiked chains. They shredded the tires of any squad car that even tried to get close. When officers finally got eyes on the helicopter circling overhead, they asked for permission to fire, and the order came back a strict no. They were told to stand down and wait.
This was not luck. No way. The robbers seemed to know exactly what the police would do, and more importantly, how to stop them. Their plan wasn't just bold, it was built from the ground up to exploit every single weakness in the system. But that just begs the question, how did they know what all those weaknesses were?
Well, their plan was basically a three-pronged attack. First, they completely neutralized any police air support by planting fake bombs at the police helicopter hangar. That forced a total lockdown. Second, on the ground, those spiked chains we talked about, they guaranteed no police cars could get anywhere near the place. And third, and this part is just wild, they knew the building's layout because they used publicly available blueprints. A massive, massive security oversight.
It all just seems unbelievable, right? With all these moving parts, how could the Swedish authorities have been caught so completely flat-footed? You'd think an operation this complex would have left some kind of intelligence trail. Well, it did.
Okay, this is probably the most shocking part of the entire story. A full month before the heist, Serbian intelligence sent a super detailed warning to their Swedish counterparts. It specified everything: a helicopter, a rooftop landing, a cash depot target, even that a group of around 20 people were involved. For weeks, the Swedish police were on high alert, but when nothing happened by the predicted date, they stood down the special operation. They even moved their police helicopters back to the very hangar that was about to be targeted with fake bombs.
So the robbers had vanished with the money, but their so-called perfect crime was already starting to come apart at the seams. You know, as meticulous as their planning was, their execution was far from flawless. In their rush, they left a trail of clues that would lead investigators right to them.
Yeah, for all their brilliant planning, this crew was incredibly sloppy. They left behind a sledgehammer, stained with blood. They left burned equipment at a bus stop nearby. And almost unbelievably, they forgot a GPS device inside the abandoned helicopter. These are not the moves of criminal masterminds. When you combine that with the wiretap data the police already had from that Serbian tip, a picture of the suspects really started to come into focus.
One of the main suspects they zeroed in on was this guy, Alexander Eriksson. He was a TV producer, kind of moved in high society circles, and the police were convinced he was the pilot. But Eriksson had what he thought was a perfect, rock-solid alibi. At the exact time of the heist, he claimed he was in a car crash clear across Stockholm. But his whole story completely fell apart because of something incredibly normal. Just an hour after his supposed car crash, security cameras caught him calmly ordering breakfast at a McDonald's. a McDonald's that just happened to be a short walk from where the getaway helicopter was abandoned.
And right there, that's where the alibi just completely collapses. I mean, the prosecution asked the obvious question. How does a guy who was just in a serious car accident in the city center suddenly show up miles away in the suburbs, calmly ordering a meal? It just didn't add up. And the answer was simple. The crash was a decoy, staged by his buddies to give him a fake alibi.
So in the end, 7 men were convicted, but the trial kind of stripped them of all their mystique. The media had built them up as these elite criminal geniuses, but the court saw them for what they really were, a ragtag group of violent criminals who basically got lucky and made a ton of mistakes.
But the story doesn't actually end with the convictions. Not even close. The Vestberga helicopter heist had this profound, lasting impact that triggered a huge national conversation, a conversation that would dramatically reshape the entire Swedish economy.
The real impact of this heist becomes crystal clear when you just look at these numbers. In 2008, the year before the robbery, Sweden had over 100 bank robberies. 100! By 2016, that number had plummeted to just 2. So, what on earth happened?
Well, the heist sparked this fierce national debate. Trade unions started arguing that forcing employees to handle physical cash put them in constant danger. And for once, businesses and banks agreed. The Vestberga robbery became the tipping point. It dramatically sped up Sweden's transition away from cash, putting it on the path to becoming one of the first nearly cashless societies on Earth.
So, you see, in the end, the heist's true legacy wasn't just about the money itself. Sure, the robbers managed to get away with nearly $5 million, but their crazy, audacious crime did something way more significant. It terrified a nation into fundamentally changing its relationship with money.
Oh, and that $5 million? To this day, not a single cent of it has ever been found. The robbers vanished into the sky with all that cash. And in a weird way, their crime helped make the very thing they stole, a world of physical cash, start to vanish too.